in the most prominent area of the garden, right smack dab in the center, and it was God who put it there, according to the Bible. You know, it says God planted the garden, and so the forbidden fruit is in the one spot that they're bound to pass by the most. The tree of life is in a non-conspicuous area, and then this powerful spiritual being, Satan, tempts the woman to eat the forbidden fruit. Okay, and no mention is made of the tree of life until after both of them eat the forbidden fruit, and then God puts a flaming sword and cherubim around the tree of life, and probably went to heaven and laughed at the calamity of Adam and Eve and the serpent and all of serpent kind, womankind, and mankind. And so that just seems to be a manifestation of God's evil. But God can do what God wants to do. Um, I covered enough of that stuff. And, oh, let me see. How much more do I want to cover before I call it quits? All right. So, just to reiterate, I'll say that, so after you get to that 12th sphere of thought, then there is a reusage of the 11th sphere and some changes that it goes through to make it function more like a 13th sphere, like an extension of the 12th sphere of thought. But then there's that final thing. That final one, I have to actually give it a name. There's no nothing in any theological book or political book that I can think of that would describe it. But as I said, we're going backwards now, and so we're going to restructure that 10th sphere of thought, so it becomes the 14th and the final one. By the way, it's the final one. This is it. So basically, when the God element goes from being just an expression of someone's concept of life to being a preventive measure that prevents that destruction, uh, then of course you got to ask, well, what would come after that? You know, after you prevent destruction, well, that 13th sphere or that 13th level is still a dictatorial one, and as it turns out, God with a capital G is the only one who can fully and effectively operate on that level. He's the only one who knows enough about necessary evils to commit those necessary evils in a truly effective way that prevents any future implosion of life in the universe. It is totally impossible for anyone else to fully appreciate that aspect of God's being and God's thinking. You can understand some things about it, but you definitely can't understand enough to replace him. Definitely to do what he does. Okay, not by any means. However, um, this 14th sphere of thought, um, it basically reuses the conceptual thought, and you can see it's kind of fading off here. Kind of wondering where I'm going to go. Uh, Trying not to make this into another hour long of talk, but let me see. So one thing I have written down here is that it forces people to think instead of needing authority, because now you're doing things in reverse order. Initially, that conceptual thought preceded the God element. So now you're moving further along in this list, and you've gained a consciousness of godhood and what it's about and why it happened, and of necessary evils. But then you want to get to a place where you decentralize the thinking, where you're no longer dependent upon just one being in the entire universe who can understand necessary evils and carry them out effectively. Uh, and so, ooh, I might have to call it quits. I might have to try this another day. But you basically want to just get people to use this part of the mind that they have failed to use. I said early on that it's very hard to get people to use their conceptual thought. It's hard enough getting them just to be rational, and then this other area of thought is even harder to use. So very few men actually use it. But then, as these necessary evils unfold, then people will eventually want to break away from that system and from all of these evils that are befalling the world, and they'll be forced to think and to conceptualize not just what people want, but what people need, and to think more objectively. Uh, and maybe it would be easier for me to explain this a different way. And I will try again tomorrow. I do have to get up early in the morning, and oh man, yeah. So I'm gonna pick this up tomorrow. All right.